The Humane Education Connection is a nonprofit organization that strives to reduce the abuse of children and animals through educational programs that utilize the powerful connection of the human-animal bond. Kim Scrovanek of Humane Education Connection has made it her life's mission to help break the cycle of abuse through pairing rescue dogs with children who have experienced abuse. Humane Education Connection, up next on Bayside. Good morning and welcome to Bayside. I'm your host, Shelly Sanders. Like I said earlier, we're talking all about that animal-human bond. You know, if you have a pet, you know what that feels like. They're basically a family member. And here to talk about the Humane Education Connection is Miss Kim Scrovanek.
Hi.
Welcome to the show, and it's so nice to have you here.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, and you've brought Brooklyn.
This is Brooklyn, one of our program pups.
I love it.
So I'm sure we'll chat about her.
Oh, for sure. She's so precious. My
Yeah.
goodness, that face. So, okay, before we get into talking about Brooklyn and some of the programs that your organization has, I know I alluded to it and discussed a little bit about it in the open, but let's really talk about being that we have the founder here. Let's talk about this and why you decided to start it and just
Okay.
give me the dish, Kim.
Oh, here I go. I can talk forever about it. My passion began in rescue. I rescue dogs. I foster, I help transport. I'm involved with a lot of the rescues. And through that, you see so much abuse and neglect on animals. It's just incredible. And so through my research, I discovered that children who've experienced those things from neglect, abuse, in their lives, and not only neglect and abuse, but also those cultures that, you know, the dog belongs outside all the time, or, you know, dog fighting cultures and all that, they're the most likely to repeat it because all those behaviors are very learned behaviors. So that's how I started, and that's why I decided to go directly to the children who, you know, 99% chance have experienced those things in their lives.
So from your experience, you've seen, so the children, what, they become immune to the tragic situations that happens to the abuse of animals?
Well, what I'm saying is if they've been abused and experienced that, it's very learned. So they start believing in those patterns, and then that's the way you handle that situation.
Sure.
And so we go in, and as simple as like the example I gave that a dog belongs outside all the time because they're dirty. I teach them that they're social, that they have emotions, they have feelings, that they're social, they're pack animals, and that they're only as dirty as you let them get, that it's our responsibility. And I actually tell them, I go, that's just like if you had a baby brother or sister that you kept outside all the time. They'd get pretty dirty, wouldn't they? So, I mean, that sounds pretty, you know, simple, to, you know, but it really connects with them like, well, yeah, I guess that's right, you know, so.
So what have you seen through this? What, if there's any particular story that comes to mind, tell me what you've witnessed as a result of this.
Most of our, I guess, data, so to speak, in technical terms, comes from the staff telling us that children have, you know, they're calmer after we leave, they kind of are nicer to each other and all this stuff. But one story in particular that I remember, at the time it was my dog Bronx that was with me coming in. And it was in a shelter where children are actually pulled from their home due to abuse, so they live there. And there was a staff person coming out, and for some reason I hadn't seen this little girl for the 2 weeks that she had been there. She was either at bath time or what have you. So we walk in, and the staff member's holding her, and the girl points down to the dog, and my Bronx, and says, doggy, 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 which is normal, okay?
Right.
That's what kids do. But the staff member's reaction was like, oh my God. And I'm like, what? What just happened? And she said she hasn't spoken for the 2 weeks that she's been here. We didn't even know that she could talk yet. Yeah, yeah. And so it was just that immediate reaction to the dog. And then she got down on the floor and started petting the dog. And when the other children started coming around and petting, you could see her looking like, oh, okay. this is something we have in common. I don't know if that's exactly what she thought,
Right.
but she was observing. And they said that after that night, I mean, I don't want to make it sound like a big miracle or anything, but after that night, she started relating to the children a little easier and moving forward a little bit more just from that connection.
It developed a little bit of trust,
Yeah.
right? Not knowing. So, I mean, miracles come in
Yeah,
all different
that's
shapes,
right.
sizes, and packages.
Sizes, exactly.
You know, so
Yeah.
you never know.
You
So
never
these
know.
are the experiences that you have. So are these dogs ever, are the dogs and children ever together on a permanent basis? Brought together on a permanent basis?
No, they're my dogs.
Therapeutic?
Right. And I have some teachers at some other facilities, so they're their own personal dogs that they take in. And yeah, so they all do have to be rescue dogs.
Sure.
That's one thing that makes us a little different than other therapy organizations where, yeah.
How many dogs do you have currently that are going out to
I have
these
4
places?
rescue dogs personally, and but 3 of my, well, Bronx is basically retired. They do have to retire, just like people, but I have 2, Olivia and Brooklyn, that go in, and I myself go into 2 shelters. I go into CASA. Well, actually 3 right now. I'm training someone to take CASA over for me. CASA is the Women's Abuse Shelter here in St. Pete, a great organization. And I go into Metropolitan Ministries in Tampa and Sally House, which is also, you know, the shelter that I was speaking of. And then I have a teacher that's placed up in Clearwater at the Homeless Emergency Project, which I think now they're called the Homeless Empowerment Project.
Sure.
Yeah, they rebranded.
Now, it's clear just from talking to you and when I first met you, it's very obvious that you have an affection and a love for animals and your pups, understandably, and this is cracking me up here. But how did it come to be that you decided to bring your babies to other babies, you know, your animals to the children that have perhaps an abusive background?
Right, right. Well, as we are all becoming more and more familiar with, like you had said in the introduction, the human-animal bond, and the example of the little girl, there's just that immediate innate connection. Because like I said, children aren't, they're innately compassionate. They're innately compassionate towards animals, curious towards animals. And one of the things, like I said, our dogs have to be rescue dogs. So all the dogs come with stories, and that's the reason they have to be rescue dogs and not bought from a breeder or one of the puppy stores, and that could be a whole nother show about that stuff. But anyway, as my passion back to rescue goes, is that they connect to the dog's stories because the dogs have experienced a lot of the same things. So our lessons always begin with the dog's story. And I can tell you about Olivia's story. It's a little lengthy, so I don't know if now is the moment. But
I would love to hear Olivia's story, but why don't we go ahead and tell our viewers, because I'm sure you at home have so many questions. But don't worry, because there's a website. You're looking at it right there. That's going to go over all the information that Kim and I have been talking about. The website is humaneeducationconnection.org. humaneeducationconnection.org. Don't worry, if you get lost, we'll have a connection or a link for you on our website, cw44.com. Don't go anywhere, we'll be back. Welcome back to Bayside. I'm your host, Shelly Sanders, and I'm totally falling in love with your dog, Brooklyn. Kim Skrovanek with the Humane Education Connection. In case you're just tuning in, we are talking all about the human-animal bond and the wonderful things that the Humane Education Connection is doing for our abused children and our rescue dogs here in the Bay Area. Brooklyn is a sweetheart.
Thank you.
So when we left, we had talked basically about the foundation, the beginnings of the Humane Education Connection. So let's talk about what sets you apart. What makes you guys different from, say, other pet therapy organizations that are out there? How are you different?
Right, right. Well, when I developed our program, Canines Helping Kids in Crisis, I decided to make a difference because our whole mission is to break that cycle of behavior. And you can't do that without a few things. The first one is being ongoing. You can't go in once, let them pet the dog, and then you leave, and maybe not show up again for 6 months or
commitment.
so. It's a commitment. And those children become attached to you and the dog as well. I mean, these children, you've got to understand, many of them, they have learned to not trust anything to be permanent in their lives. Things have been taken from them, so they really do become attached. So one way we're different is that we're ongoing. When we get into a facility, we're there for as long as they'll have us, which pretty much is forever, I think. And we go once a week visits for an hour visit. The second way that makes us different is that we're educational based, because you need education in order to break that pattern. And sure, there are fun activities and things like that, but always with the underlying message of kindness, compassion. Sometimes it's about the dogs. The dog's always there. Sometimes it's about the dogs. Sometimes it's maybe about journaling to teach them other ways to help deal with their stress and their anxiety and the things that they've had to deal with. Sometimes it's gratitude, gratitude lessons, because it's about healing the children so they don't go on to repeat those behaviors, which do normally start on animals, because it starts on the things that are weaker than they are. And the third way we're different, as I alluded to, the dogs have to be rescue dogs, because the children really do attach to their stories. And I have another dog that goes in, Olivia, as we mentioned before break.
Sure.
And she's the one where we know 100% her story. Many of them are found as strays, end up in the pound, and like Brooklyn, we rescued her from the pound. But Olivia came from a backyard breeding hoarding situation in Alabama. And it was so bad, she was basically kept in a small cage her whole life, just used for breeding, because all they cared about was puppies, to sell, not taken care of, heartworm positive, super skinny, not fed, had to learn to fight for food because they just dump it on the ground. So bad that animal services up there came and took all the dogs. There was like 26 dogs. And at the pound, of course, and I tell the kids exactly the story like this, her story. And I said, and at the pound, she, of course, because she was scared, growled at them. And these people decided they were going to teach her a lesson and dragged her up and down the aisle till her little paws bled trying to stop herself at that animal services. And that was caught on video. And so I'm telling the kids this, and I tell them, but Olivia now, she came to me, we rescued her. I taught her love. I taught her what it was like to be an inside dog. I gained her trust. And Olivia is the most loving dog you'll ever meet. She loves everybody. You should see her with the children. It's incredible. And I tell them that shows me that she's forgiven. And I said, how do I know she's forgiven? And I say, she never has to see those people. They don't even have to know. It's the fact that she has let go of that anger and gone on to do great things for others. So I tell the children, that has taught me and can teach you that you too can forgive. You don't ever have to see the people again.
Sure.
You don't have to. It means let go of that anger. So you too can go on to do great things for yourselves and others. So that's one of the, use the dog's story. And they really connect to the stories. You see it in their face like, oh my God, Olivia.
Sure.
Because they see how great she is and how loving she is, and they can't believe she went through all that.
And not knowing their stories in some cases may even relate to her and her own journey. So what a beautiful way to teach a humane lesson. And it's I have to commend you on your website, because it's clear that you are education as well. The name of your organization speaks for what you are. You create the connection, you're educating, and it is humane.
Thank you.
Your website, though, has got great things on it, including, I love the section for the kids.
Yes, thank you.
Again, creating the education. You want to check out that website? Well, you're looking at it right there. Go to your computer now or log on to your phone. It's humaneeducationconnection.org. That's the website right there. Perhaps you'd like to volunteer. A lot of stuff on that website. All right, check it out. We're going to take a short break. If you can't remember the website link, don't worry. We'll have one on our CW44.com. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Bayside. I'm your host, Shelley Sanders, and I've been talking with Miss Kim Skrovanek, and of course, Brooklyn has been here just being a complete champion. She is a sweet love, so good. That being said, let's talk about training. What goes into it? Because like you said, these are all rescue dogs.
Right.
So you aren't always 100% certain of what their background
Right.
is. So what goes into the training and how involved is that?
Right, right. Well, personally, all of my dogs that I've gotten, I do foster to adopt, to make sure their temperament and what they're going through, and to work with them a little bit like that, because I can't, personally end up as, 26 dogs in my own home. So I have to foster to adopt. But once I'm certain, then, and I adopt them, I take them through a basic training course. There's, trainers out there I can recommend to anybody who. And then they have to have, for our organization, AKC Canine Good Citizen certification, which is basically a nice temperament test to make sure, that they're going to be able to handle this. And then we'll start taking them into some other places than the shelters themselves to kind of, work with them around that many children. Because it's different if someone says, oh yes, my dog's child friendly. Well, it's different when you have 2 or 3 kids that your dog's loving on and, 15 kids running up to him at once. It's a little different.
Sure, sure.
And some kids being afraid of dogs and might flinch back or what have you. So you do have to do that. So if I'm training anybody else personally with their dog does have to get AKC Canine Good Citizen, but I will observe them. They'll come in with me for a while with my dog. Like I said, I'm training someone at CASA right now. And, we kind of go from there and observe, and I make sure first. And then if they need to get their AKC Canine Good Citizen, so.
You are just precious.
Yeah.
So perhaps we have someone at home that maybe they're new to the area, or this is the first time that they're hearing of your organization, and their dog, check, everything is, and it's striking a chord with them right now. Do you accept volunteers? Are you always looking for more people that would love to do this? And
I am, because not that I necessarily have a need at this right here moment, but there's unfortunately many of these types of shelters out there. So I would love to get into as many as I can, and we of course need the volunteers to do that. I'm always developing new programs and things like that. So they would just need to contact us, and I know you guys will have my phone number on there.
Absolutely.
And they can give me a call personally, and I can chat to them a little bit further about how to do that.
Well, there's the phone number right there for you at home, but we'll also have a link for you on our website to their website. Now, do you have any kind of wish list items, or what does someone, maybe they want to help, they want to donate financially or support you in some other way? Perhaps local stores here, that's a hint for you at home. Maybe there's a manager that's listening going, we'd love to put a donation box. What kind of items would you be looking for?
Oh, that would be awesome. Donation box at stores. I like that idea. No, people can go right to our website and donate financially, if they want to. We do collect children's items from any age, from baby on up. We love to help out in that way, the shelters as well, because there's always a need for that. So we can personally take them for people to the shelters. They, again, just contact me. I'm very open. I answer my phone all the time. And let me know about that. Dog items, of course, because we like to donate back to some of our other wonderful rescues that we help support through our organization. And we are rolling out very soon, so keep an eye out for it, a new membership program.
Oh.
So we are going to have a new membership program, and we are right now partnering with stores locally throughout the area to where if someone joins as a member for the year, that they'll get discounts at all these stores locally.
Oh, how fantastic.
So,
So there's
yes.
perks along with that
Yes,
membership, okay,
yes.
in addition to just being a good
Yep,
citizen.
keep an eye out for when that hits our website.
I love it. Okay, and look at this face. How could you not fall in love with that precious little guy? She is so pretty.
Thank you.
All right, in case you're wondering still, maybe you want to just kind of re-educate yourself, if you will, on the Humane Education Connection, you can do so by logging onto their website. You're looking at it right there. That's humaneeducationconnection.org. We'll have a link for you, so it gets you there from our website, cw44.com. But that's where you're going to log on if you want to donate, perhaps you want to volunteer your time, or just get more information, or perhaps you know of another situation that could benefit from Kim's organization. Log on there, reach out to her. All right, we'll be back to wrap up this week's edition of Bayside, so don't go anywhere. As always, I want to thank you at home for joining us this week on Bayside, and of course, Brooklyn. And Kim, thank you so much for being here. Oh, she's going to do a trick. If you'd like more information about the Humane Education Connection, you can always log onto their website, humaneeducationconnection.org. I encourage you to get out, get involved in your community, volunteer for these guys. You can meet little ones like Brooklyn. Oh my goodness. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.